I'm Christina Onnested. More details have emerged from Uvalde, Texas, where authorities say a lone 18-year-old went on a shooting rampage at the Robb Elementary School, killing 19 children and 2 teachers Tuesday. Stephen McCraw, director of Texas Department of Public Safety, says Salvador Ramos bought hundreds of rounds of ammunition in the months leading up to the attack.
On March 17th, Ramos purchased a semi-automatic rifle at a local sporting goods store. On March 18th, he purchased 375 rounds of ammunition for that rifle. On March 20th, he purchased another semi-automatic rifle at that same local store.
And he detailed his plans on social media minutes before the attack. McCraw joined Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who didn't mention gun control, but instead pointed to mental health, although Ramos had no history of mental health challenges. His comments drew ire from Democrat Beto O'Rourke of Texas, who interrupted the press conference and was subsequently escorted out of the press conference. He spoke to local media.
As the governor of the state of Texas, the most powerful man in the state, chose to do nothing. He went to Santa Fe High School after kids were killed in their classrooms, told the parents he would do something. He did nothing. He came to my hometown of El Paso after 23 people were slaughtered. He said he was going to do something. He did nothing. In fact, the only thing he did was make it easier to buy a gun. The only thing he did was make it easier to carry a gun in public. And he bragged about the fact that there would be no background check, no training, no vetting whatsoever.
President Joe Biden says he and Jill Biden will travel to Uvalde to comfort the bereaved families. Speaking at the White House Wednesday, Biden called for gun control measures.
While they clearly will not prevent every tragedy, we know certain ones will have significant impact and have no negative impact on the Second Amendment. Second Amendment is not absolute. When it was passed, you couldn't own a cannon. You couldn't own certain kinds of weapons.
But he offered little hope of passage in the Senate, where Republicans have blocked gun control efforts. Eileen Alfandary reports from Pacifica station KPFA, Democrats aren't giving up.
In the face of the horror of yet another school massacre, Senate Democratic Majority Leader Chuck Schumer begged his Republican colleagues to reach across the aisle for even a modest compromise bill, expanding background check requirements before buying firearms.
My Republican colleagues, imagine if it happened to you. Imagine if this was your kid or your grandkid. Please, 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 damn it, put yourself in the shoes of these parents for once.
Last year, the House passed 2 bills to expand background checks on firearms purchases. One would have closed a loophole for private and online sales. The other would have extended the background check review period. Neither could surmount a Republican filibuster nor get the support of West Virginia Democratic Senator Joe Manchin. Now Manchin is saying there's potential for a bipartisan red flag law that would set up a procedure to allow a judge to block people from owning guns if they pose a risk to themselves or others. Several states, including California, have such laws. So does Florida, which enacted its red flag law after the Parkland High School massacre in 2018. For Pacifica Radio, I'm Eileen Alfandary.
President Joe Biden signed an executive order aimed at police reform on the 2nd-year anniversary of the police killing of George Floyd. Christopher Martinez reports.
This executive order is going to deliver the most significant police reform in decades.
President Joe Biden's executive order on policing is in part modeled after the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, in some areas going even farther. It will track deadly use of force incidents by federal law enforcement officers and create a database of officer misconduct. It puts limits on police acquisition of military equipment that the White House says belongs on a battlefield, not on our streets. It will also change some police practices that were used in incidents like the police killing of George Floyd and of Breonna Taylor, who was shot and killed when police entered the wrong apartment without knocking.
Bans chokeholds, restricts no-knock warrants, tightens use of force policies to emphasize de-escalation and duty to intervene to stop another officer from using executive force.
Vice President Kamala Harris joined Biden for the signing ceremony, saying too often biased policing and excessive force are not met with accountability.
And we are here today in memory of George Floyd and all those we have lost to take action.
She blasted Senate Republicans for opposing the George Floyd legislation, killing the measure and making executive action the only option. The order has support from police groups. It's also supported by civil rights groups, even though, as Biden acknowledges, the order only applies directly to the nation's 100,000 federal police officers. Reporting for Pacifica Radio News KPFA, I'm Christopher Martinez.
I'm Christina Onnested, reporting for Pacifica Radio.